Now, Scott Bolden, a Democrat strategist, and Denise Gitsham, NewsNation political contributor. Thank you both for being here to you both. All right. We are going to start with those health care subsidies. Denise, I want to start with you. Republicans have been talking about an alternative to Obamacare for years. Do they have a plan? What does that plan look like? What are you hearing?
Well, there are a lot of policy proposals that have been floated in the past, including raising caps on HSAs and allowing interstate competition so you can get the best healthcare plan regardless of where you live. But I think the question that we have to, and listen, I do blame Republicans for not doing this earlier. Truly, they lacked the backbone they needed to actually get fundamental change done. But the question I really pose to Democrats is, what are they fighting for? If everyone in ACA needs not only one, but two subsidies in order to afford their health care premiums, while United Healthcare, the biggest ACA recipient of funds, increased 1,000-fold in their stock value and now make $23 billion a year at the expense of taxpayers, how is what you're defending a good deal for Americans?
Yeah, Scott Bolden, Congressman Alford noted that Obamacare has not stopped health care costs from rising. So first, I want to get your reaction to Denise's comments and ask you, are subsidies the only answer? What else are we looking at here?
Well, it's the only thing we have. You know, the Republicans have been talking about health care since Donald Trump's first term. They have. And then they said in 2 weeks, we're going to put together a health plan. That special 2 weeks that Donald Trump always talks about. And now we're in 2025. They're still talking about health care, but they don't have a plan. They don't have legislation. It's just all talk, which is why nothing's going to happen with these subsidies. Obamacare and the American Health Care Act, it may be flawed, but it's something. It gives you insurance for 20 million people, maybe 40, some number like that. And so that's the best we've got right now. If the Republicans want to improve it, then pass some legislation or put some legislation forward. It's all political rhetoric. But the Democrats, our political reality is Obamacare works for Republicans, Democrats, and independents. It may be flawed. So if you're going to fix it, then put some energy into fixing it. They're not putting energy into fixing it. They're putting energy into tax cuts for the wealthy. They put energy into building a new part of East Wing. They put energy into bombing drug boats. But put some energy into health care and save our people and reduce those costs for not just Democrats, but independents, but Republicans as well. And they're just not doing it. It's killing their own constituency.
Well, listen, there's a lot on the table here. Health care is, of course, so important, but so is traveling safety to your destination. We do see some energy going into that. And Denise, I've got to ask you, I understand you had quite a flight back to California from Washington. I caught a clip of it earlier today on Marnie Hughes. What happened?
Yeah, so my husband and I were flying back on Sunday, and we were just grateful to get on the plane, truly. And as we were coming into San Francisco, all of a sudden, our plane just shook. And there was nothing outside. I thought we had a flock of birds or something. But actually, what we had done was we went through the jet stream of another jet. And that's what the captain told us. And he said, this doesn't usually happen. And so we could read the subtle undertext, right? The things that weren't said. And then when we landed, there was no gate for us to go to. So we just waited another hour because the gate that we were supposed to go to wasn't actually open. So those things are minor. I'm so grateful to God that we landed and that we were safe. Right. But what I really think about is all the people who had their flights canceled and missed funerals. Missed weddings, missed things that you can never emotionally make up for because of this democratically caused shutdown. And if it were up to the Democrats, we would still be in a shutdown as long as it took for them to hold on to this failed healthcare plan that they refused to negotiate on.
Listen, we were talking and listening to Sean Duffy having that presser at Chicago's O'Hare, talking about putting safety first and talking about, the delays and the cancellations. And then, we've got this situation with the ACT, with people that are calling out. They need to have more bodies in those seats. And that is what part of what this government shutdown is about. Hey, Scott, I just want to get your reaction to what Denise said before we move on to John Thune, which I want to ask you about.
Well, millions of Americans with rising health care costs and rising Medicare costs because the Republicans won't have a conversation. They won't talk to the Democrats, and then Democrats have no leverage now that they've agreed to open up the government. And so they run all three houses, and so it's hard to blame the Democrats on a shutdown, although the political rhetoric is that it's our fault. But we want to save health care, we want to save Medicare, and the Republicans don't have a plan. And so what are we talking about here? Listen, I just left Africa and flew back to the U.S. The 10% or 6% reduction in transportation at the airports has actually made it worse, not better, because now they're canceling all these flights. Even if you kind of slowly move these changes in, it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Secondly, you have a House of Representatives that's not even there. Let me finish. You have a House of Representatives that's not even here to get the government open. They're waiting 2 or 3 days because they weren't even in session. And so the Republicans have a lot of explaining to do, especially on the heels of the Democratic sweep last Tuesday at the state level. But we're going to see what's going to happen in 2026. That vote, Americans have been voting against Donald Trump and the Republicans. I anticipate they will in 2026 because of the economy and all the other things that are being done by this Republican administration. They got to own it. This is their government. They own all three houses.
Denise, I'll give you the last word if you could do it quick.
Sure. Well, this Democratic talking point about, Republicans being the cause of the shutdown is ridiculous, as was evidenced by the fact that it only took 7 Democrats and 1 independent to make it actually end, to bring the shutdown to an end. So any finger pointing, and then also the calls by the Democrats, where's the president stepping in? Look, if you don't want President Trump coming in and wiping up all your messes and cleaning everything up, then maybe you should do your job and open the government so that we can stop suffering and actually not suffer more. As Scott pointed out, 6% reduction was bad for you. Wait till Friday when it's 10% and see what would have happened if Democrats were still in control of our Congress. You would be at 25, 30, 50%, because that's exactly what they're doing. They're holding Americans hostage for a failed health care plan that isn't serving American people.
All right.
Denise, where's your health care plan? Where's the Republican health care plan? Oh, I'm sorry. It doesn't exist. It's been in the makings for 10 years. You don't have a plan. Get a plan. It's called a health care plan.
I wish we could continue. I mean, we could go for another hour with this, you guys. A. Scott Bolden,
And
Denise
another
Gitsham.
thing. And another thing.
Another thing.
I got to cut it there. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you always. We'll talk again.